Hi, my name is Irina. I'm the founder of Career Cravings podcast. And today we are going to be walking through my Career Cravings live event, which was a live recording of my podcast. So I spent my career in HR for 15 years. And my most recent role was Director of Talent Management and Recruitment. And I love that role. But when the market shifted, I started getting a lot of people reaching out about being unable to land their roles. And just knowing behind the scenes how recruitment works and all that good stuff, I was taking on helping people with that. And then I had something fairly traumatic. I was diagnosed with cancer. And that moment made me shift the way I saw everything, the world, my work. And I knew that I wanted to do that full time. And that's when I started Career Cravings. When I started just coaching people for free, seeing people transform in front of my eyes and land careers that were more fulfilling. That feeling, I'm like, I want this all the time. And although at work, like there were parts that I really, really loved in my job, like creating coaching programs, leadership development programs, and seeing people get promoted, that wasn't everything that I was doing. It was like a small fraction of what I wanted to be doing. And I'm like, if I know time on this planet is limited, if I could do anything and just know that it would succeed, what would I do? And I was like, I would help people with their transformation, specifically in their career. And that's how it was born. Yeah, my inbox on LinkedIn, I think just because of my title, it was overflowing. People were just reaching out either, how can I get hired at your company? Because I had the word recruitment in my title. People that were applying and they were unable to get through the ATS to my own company. And then sometimes I would look at their resume and see they're actually amazing. And like, why didn't they make it through? And that was my whole job to make sure that we're finding the top talent. And then I had HR professionals reach out to me because I had been promoted throughout my career and so on. And they were just reaching out like, how did you do that? I'd love to hear from you. Like, I'm sure you get coffee chat requests in your inbox too. And at first, I just started speaking to those people. And as soon as I realized that I wanted to do this full time, I just had this knowing that it was going to work. Like, although, I don't know, most coaching companies don't work out and most businesses don't work out, I just knew it was going to work out. I started tapping into the HR community, starting to reach out to people that were always also in HR. And I think because I had that experience that others wanted to also achieve, they were very, very receptive to connecting and learning more. And in the first month of launching my business, I had exceeded my goals that I had for the first 3 months. So I had like 25 one-to-one clients that just like organically happened. And that's when it took off and I decided to go in on the business full time. So one of the things that I did about 3 months into the business was start a group coaching program. So I was at full capacity for one-to-one and it's just not scalable and not something that I was able to continue to offer in that way. So I started the first cohort of the group and hearing the feedback as people were landing roles and as we would debrief and talk about what happened, what worked well in the program, getting their testimony. I kept hearing the same things over and over again, which is like, I joined because of you. I joined because originally I knew you could help me. But what I got was this community, which was just invaluable. And hearing that over and over and over, I was like, there's something here. And the community would learn from each other and make things so much better. And people would ask a question that someone else hadn't even thought of, but then it came in like super handy for them a week later, 2 weeks later. And that's when I really knew that going in all in on the community was like the way to go. And a couple of years later, I launched the Career Cravings podcast, which led me to StartWell. And also launching the podcast what I saw very early on. I didn't know what would happen. But within 4 weeks, I got this one message, and it's one of my earliest testimonials on the podcast or reviews on the podcast. It said, I just listened to the first 4 episodes and landed my dream job. So I saw like people were in my DMs, they were reaching out and they were sharing such amazing things about the transformations that they were going through just from listening to the podcast. And I'm like, I think there's something here. Like, I think we could bring people together and just amplify their voices and amplify the community. And that's where the thought was born in early 2025. I had the dream to host a live podcast event and to bring the community together. But I also knew that I have a full-time job as it is, and planning a huge event, I've planned lots of large events. It is a lot of lift, especially for a small business like mine. In the coaching industry, most coaches will go to a luxury hotel and they'll plan an event like the one that I held. But these events cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And just hearing, like I was listening to, I think it was the Kelly Roach show, and she broke down the costs and, how she planned that event, and just listening to big names in this space, listening to the amount of work that went into that and how they had to source so many different vendors that weren't speaking to each other. And they had to get catering from one place and lighting from another. And having that all come together requires not only time and money, but also a large team. And you're not really sure how things will end up when you're sourcing so many different vendors. And I've done that before for my wedding, for example, and it's a lot of work. And that's, I think, what prevented me from wanting to host an event like that. I put it on the back burner, even though I wanted to do it. I just put it on the back burner, and I thought, this is too big to tackle right now. I'm going to focus on the things that, I need to execute on. And then last summer, I was invited to an event by a friend here at StartWell. And I think it was like the Tech for Canada event that was held here. And I walked into the space and instantly loved it. I mean, it's such a warm, beautiful space. It's so modern. It's in a great location. So right out the gate, I was treated to like a beautiful coffee from the barista. And it was just such a nice experience. And then when I sat down to watch the show, and there was like a podcast essentially happening in front of me, I saw my vision for my event like right in front of me. And I just looked around and I'm like, okay, all the things that I was worried about, figuring out AV and figuring out like staging and lighting and mics and all of these things were all in one room, fully taken care of. And that was the first moment where I could actually see me hosting that event that I wanted to host. And I instantly booked it, and I held the event the following month. And the reason I was able to do that so quickly, I usually like to plan things for a long time, but the reason I was able to do that so quickly was because everything was taken care of. The StartWell team is incredible. Like, I had my walkthrough for the event. I'm someone who has extremely high standards, by the way, so I don't say this lightly. I had the walkthrough, and I just felt like there is a professional team handling everything that I don't want to have to worry about. I don't have to worry about the mics. I don't have to worry about seating or, the space or things that I don't know about, like lighting and mics and things like that. And hosting that event, the Career Cravings live event last year, and bringing the community together was, I told my husband that it was the best day of my career, but it was like top 3 moments maybe ever. So having everyone in the room together and like actually hugging my people, like I didn't anticipate there were so many things I was planning, the speakers and the content and like making sure that everyone knew where to show up and all of that good stuff. I hadn't actually taken the time because I planned everything so quickly to think about or visualize what I thought the event might look like. But when I saw it happening, I was just so grateful. I mean, I had arranged for headshots for everyone. And I knew that there would be the speaking part, and then everyone I kind of pictured either getting lunch or getting their headshots taken. And that's what I envisioned. But what actually happened, there was like 100 people just like lining up to hug me and to tell me how the podcast has changed their lives, and to see people face to face and, to hug them and it was just incredible and not something I ever even envisioned. And it was just amazing seeing StartWell, the fact that it is a one-stop shop for everything that you need to host an event, including the team of experts that help you with all of the day of coordination and just take all of the heavy lift off your plate. I mean, it's fantastic for coaches, but not only for coaches. I think any business that is trying to grow a community. So I think of all of my years working in HR, we were always hosting offsites. We were hosting events to bring the leadership teams together, um, to form different bonds. So I think there's so many different people that can benefit from using a space like this. It's endless because you can configure the space the way that you need it. If you need it to be a 100-person event like the one that I hosted, you could do that. If you need the more small, intimate kind of spaces with all of the AV handled, you could do that as well. So there's so many beautiful benefits of having a community, especially an online community, come together that it's hard to explain. From an ROI perspective, I think it just speeds up trust a lot more when you can actually be in the same room as someone and you can just have a conversation and just chat. We don't often get the opportunity to do that. So I'm so happy that I did that. And also there were a lot more listeners to the podcast as well, right? So people may have come to the event that weren't listening to the podcast that are now, which is also it's incredible. And then there were so many connections made in the room too. Because I felt so reassured that everything was taken care of, I could be my best self for that event, which meant people could feel my energy. People could feel that I'm enjoying the event, that I'm walking up to them, like smiling, embracing them. Like, I think as hosts of the event, we also have to bring the right energy to the space. And that's that's exactly that's exactly it. Like we could um, not worry about all the little details. Like I didn't have to rush off and switch, the seating arrangement for the panel version of the podcast, for example. Um, and yeah, it just makes the experience so much more enjoyable for everyone. Getting to know my community on a deeper level and like really knowing people well really changes things. And um, what happens from that is people also then feel like they want to support my business as well. They want to refer their friends. They want to tell people about the podcast because we have a connection. It's not just like an online transactional interaction anymore. It's a true relationship. And the event was the start of many deeper relationships, getting to know people on a very different way than I was able to on our coaching calls, right? So after the event, I was just on a high because all of the stress was off, all of the pressure was off, and it went so well. And I was getting all of these LinkedIn tags and people messaging me in the DMs, like all of these really kind things. And one person messaged me saying, Irina, that was amazing. I haven't been able to sleep. Like I'm on such a high, I cannot sleep. And when she said that, I was like, oh my goodness, it's not just me, because that's exactly how I felt. Like I could not come down. I was so, so excited. And seeing the community also have that, it's hard to put into words. If anyone is looking to host a live podcast event, I'd love to just walk through the agenda and what that looked like in case it's helpful. I actually stole a lot of the way the day was organized from attending an event here and just seeing the way things worked. It made it really easy. But the way that I structured the event was having people come in and for the first 30 minutes or so, just get comfortable in the space, to grab a coffee from the cafe, to grab a tea. You guys have an amazing barista on site as well. And just to start building that connection with each other. Get signed in, get comfortable. And then I hosted 2 live podcast recordings. One was a solo, kind of like a keynote activation exercise. And then the second was completely unscripted, unrehearsed, just an opportunity for people to get coaching and guidance and really just ask me anything and open up the mic to the audience. And that's what we did. And that one, I thought the first one would be my favorite because we did something really fun. I had glow sticks and people activated their dreams and were clapping and all that good stuff. But the second one, the interaction was just so amazing. You guys also have all the screens everywhere. So I was able to display the agenda for the day, display my branding for the event as well, which was really helpful. And then after we recorded those, I also had headshots that were being taken on site as well for anyone that wanted a new LinkedIn headshot, and then opened it up to lunch. And that's where kind of I saw the networking and the connections and people speaking to one another and building relationship, and also just the gratitude in the room for creating an event like this and people just thanking me for bringing the community together. It was amazing.